Hip hop since 1987.com.
Terrell Thomas, Hip Hop since 1987. We're live, State Farm Arena in the downtown Atlanta area. And I'm with a gentleman, I'm quite sure you recognize his face. For years, he's been supplying us with hits. This is how you do it. Let's Ride, Careless Whispers. The hits go on and on and on. But today you're doing something very dope, performing here at the new State Farm Arena. Now, you're the second performer. We've only had Future. Future did a great job, and having a gentleman like yourself perform at halftime is going to be truly amazing. Goes by the name of Montell Jordan. How you feeling today, sir?
I'm fantastic. It's good to be here with y'all. Good to be here with you, man.
Now, your R&B career, your music career is one of legendary status. We're just going to call a spade a spade. I remember, now I don't want to date myself, but I remember being a youngin', and I remember when This Is How We Do It dropped. I grew up in the Philadelphia area, so the Philadelphia Phillies went to the World Series in 1993, and that was kind of one of the themes they were using at Veterans Stadium at that time. And I also grew up a big Master P fan. So when you did a collab with Master P, you know, that wasn't, today we see a lot of hip hop artists and R&B artists doing collabs, but that wasn't something that was kind of key back then, you know. So you were kind of the pillars or pioneers to get that all together. From the Los Angeles area, talk to me, just let me know, when did your musical career kick off? When did it begin?
You know, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, you know, went to school out there, college out there, all those different things. And right around 1993 was when I started really seriously trying to pursue the music business and everything. That's when I got my deal from Russell Simmons in December of 93 to be on kind of a R&B hip-hop documentarian on a hip-hop label. You know, he was trying to bring West Coast feel of street life into R&B and into the East Coast. And so I got signed to Def Jam, being from South Central LA. So that was kind of my big break. I worked on an album all throughout 1994, and then right at the end of 94, top of 95, that's when This Is How We Do It hit, and the world kind of changed for everybody.
When the single was released, or actually when you were recording, went through the recording process of actually creating This Is How You Do It, did you know then that it would be a classic or a staple that it became to be, or was it something you were just trying to express yourself, get your lyrics out there, and get your name to be known?
You know, that's always a weird question when people ask, like, did you know? And the thing is, before I recorded the song, I knew when Slick Rick had Children's Story, that was already a hit record. So when I was at my fraternity parties, I was at college, that was the 2 a.m. joint that DJ didn't play it at 11 or 12 because you wasn't a good DJ. You waited to the peak moments in a night, and when that record would come on, I would always say, man, if I ever get a chance to sing on this record, I'm gonna murder it. If I ever get a chance to sing on this record, I'm gonna murder it. So by the time I got my record deal years later, that was one of the first things I had in my mind. If I can sing over this record, it's already a hit. Can we take a hit and turn it into a classic? And so, without question, I think it has become that. Is 20-something years in, going on 25, 26 years, of This Is How We Do It. But from the beginning, I knew it was something special there because Slick Rick, that's my man, he had made it something special before I ever got to it. So it was literally taking a hit and making it into a classic.
Now, when you were actually recording the record, was Slick Rick in the studio? Did you talk to Slick Rick and kind of get the approval or the blessings? How did that all come about?
When I was recording the record, Slick Rick was in jail. He had done his thing. Okay. He was locked away. But his record label, Def Jam, they heard what I did with the record, and so they were the ones that got approval from him and gave approval for me to use the record. And so that was honoring, first of all, because when he finally did come home, it was that we got a chance to collab on future stuff on my second album. So it wasn't just you can use it, but it was, I like what you did with it, and we're still friends to this day.
So how did you link with the whole No Limit movement and Master P? How did that come about? Of course, P, Silk the Shocker were hot at that time. They were definitely doing their thing. But once again, coming from the West Coast, there were several artists that you could have worked with in the West Coast area who are also dominant and doing their thing. Yeah. So what got you to New Orleans and actually dealing with the whole No Limit movement?
Yeah, the way we partnered with No Limit was literally, I had a producer that was playing the track for me, and in the song, it sounded like the guy was saying in the track, it sounded like he was saying, let's get rowdy, let's get rowdy. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't tell what he was saying, but I kept hearing it. You know, I was like, yo, the only way I could do a song like this, because it sounded so it sounded like ATL, and I was living in Cali at the time. The only way I could do this song, the South, New Orleans, Atlanta, was it had to be authenticated by somebody that was from there. And so I happened to have a friend at the time, Tina Davis, who knew that Master P was shooting a movie at the time. And so we literally rolled up onto his movie set, big SUV, big black Suburban, rolled the car up on the set during a quick break. He came and he sat in my car in the passenger side. I cranked up the record. We sat there in the car, and the beat was just, bow, and he just started sitting in the car and just going, He was like, yo, I'm in. And so from that standpoint, that was just kind of a good little marriage of collaboration, of us being artists at the top of what we were doing. It was another number one song for me, and it was Master P's first real radio hit record, because they were underground. So we started even getting the No Limit artists getting that radio play.
Are there any artists out there that you have not had the opportunity to work with that you wish you would have worked with?
Well, I'm not done yet. So
I mean, it might be like a Prince or Michael Jackson.
Oh,
cat that...
yeah, of course. There's legends that are out there. You know, I look at guys like Charlie Wilson. I want to work with Uncle Charlie one day. You know, without question, to me, there are legends, and I just honor legends for what they do. But if it fits that I could ever do a record with like a Charlie Wilson, I would do something like that. That would be, a Stevie Wonder. That's like somebody that would be on a wish list, of a bucket list, if I could do something with.
Now, this question is a little more personable to me, and I was telling you off camera. Every single day, I listen to your record. There's a remake, actually, Careless Whispers, yourself and Dave Koz. It's something that I listen to to kind of get my mind right. I put my kids onto the record. I love the instruments in it. I love the harmony in it. How did you two gentlemen link? And was Careless Whispers, was that a favorite song of yours? What made you select to actually redo that track?
Well, Dave Koz is a personal friend of mine. I've known him for over 20 years. We had a great relationship just from my love for jazz music and who he was back then. Like when his mom used to make me, because he's a Jewish dude, his mom used to make me these little things and bring them to the studio, little potato cakes and stuff. It's crazy. We just had relationship with each other, from that standpoint. We were friends. And when the opportunity came around, because I was a big George Michael fan, a big Wham fan, that was the first concert I ever went to in my life, was at Hollywood Racetrack in Los Angeles, California. It was Katrina and the Waves. I'm walking on sunshine. They were the opening act, and Shaka Khan was there, and then Wham was there. And I remember seeing George Michael do Careless Whisper, and I was like, that was my very first concert, man. So doing that song was paying tribute to, my childhood and my love for music.
Being here at an NBA game in the NBA arena, of course, we got to talk a little sports and talk NBA. Growing up, you say South Central, of course, Los Angeles. We know all the success of the Los Angeles Lakers over the past few years, one of the most dominant franchises in all of sports. And they've kind of been going through a revamping process. It's a new roster, a younger roster, and it's led by LeBron James. Right. What were your thoughts when you found out LeBron was coming to L.A. to be a Laker? And do you feel, we were talking off camera a little bit about your love for Magic and the Showtime Lakers, that Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, LeBron, Lance Stevenson, that they can kind of rekindle the whole Showtime movement?
Yeah, well, you know what? I think what happened in that time, like I said, that era with Michael Cooper and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Showtime Lakers, that's something that was just my childhood. So I'm forever a Laker fan, but I'm an NBA fan. And so I have great relationships with NBA players throughout the entire league. Okay. So if I go to, to Golden State, to meet Steph Curry and his wife, or exchange marriage book information, or be there to sing at a halftime show, or to sing the national anthem somewhere, I get all throughout the NBA. I'm a diehard Laker fan. That's just because I was brought up that way. So when you ask me, is it good for the current roster of the Lakers? I think for the future of the franchise, I think Magic Johnson made a great choice to bring a veteran leader who's still at the top of his game, to kind of school and to mold the younger players back into, he made jerseys important again in Los Angeles. He made Staples Center tickets important in Los Angeles again. And so for the franchise, I think it was a great move. And for LeBron, who's doing things outside of the sports, what he's doing with his school, what he's doing with his foundations, what he's doing with his LeBron James Family Foundation, all of those things are super key. And I think he's a G outside of the basketball court And so for that reason, I stand behind, that Laker move, and I stand behind who he is as a man.
Being a fan and a supporter of the NBA, if you had to pick today, still young in the season, very young in the season, a team to represent the East and the West in the 2018-19 NBA Finals, who would you be rocking with this year?
That's hard right there. I can tell you, I think Golden State is coming out of the West. Okay. I think Golden State is going against Utah coming out of the West.
Okay.
And I think coming out of the East, we're going to probably see Boston.
I'm not too mad at that. I'm not too mad at that at all. You're doing things as an author as well. You've been writing books, as you mentioned, marital books, different books about your career. When did you decide that was something that you wanted to take heed in and actually get out there?
That's something me and my wife get to do together. As a pastor now at a church in Atlanta, I get to, an executive pastor, I get to lead worship, I get to do men's ministry, I get to speak, and I get to do marriage ministry alongside of my wife. So that's something that's really important to us. Marriage is important to us. And so outside of the things that I get to do solo, shows, concerts, things like that, when I get to minister alongside of my wife, that's something that's super important. We get to write books together. We got to give guidance to couples and pre-marrieds and stuff like that. So that's just who we are. That's really who we are at our core, people that love God and that we want to see marriages and families reestablished the way God intended.
I have to say I respect that a whole lot, especially doing a lot in the hip hop community. Mm-hmm. Growing up, you didn't hear that a lot. It was the more hoes per se you had, the more women you had. That was the bigger artist, the bigger man you were. But you do see cats now in the black community expressing black love and the importance of marriage and having a strong foundation, the importance of having a family. When do you think that all began to change? And you yourself, as you mentioned, you love doing things with your wife. That's something we see Jay-Z and Beyonce, speaking out and doing more. You mentioned Steph Curry a moment ago. We see him and his wife also out a whole lot. Mm-hmm. When do you think that began to change? And just talk to me about how important it is for people to understand that black love is here. Black love is relevant in entertainment.
I mean, I think there's nothing new under the sun. I think that anything that lasts, jeans were baggy. Now jeans is tight, and jeans will get baggy again one day. So, from that standpoint, I think that songs are about love, at one time, and then songs change and songs are about lust. You know what I mean? And I think it all comes back around again. It's going to come back around to love. And so, at some point, you can only have so many B's and so many H's and so many this and to the point of where it's like we become desensitized to, to what allows us to remember what's important. In my mind, I feel like I have to have some bad music out there so that I remember what good music is. So when people say, what do you think about the music today? I'm like, I love what music is doing because it's either going to emphasize how important love is in relationships and in life and in music. And if it's not doing that, it's going to make it so much more important that it comes back around again. And so I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing a resurgence of R&B, of love, and of content that means something that has value. And so I'm thankful for the garbage that may have been out there for us to be able to, once again, try and clear the lanes, for some good stuff.
What brought you into the light of ministry and actually moving on to be a pastor and out here in the Atlanta area, as you mentioned? When did that life become about, and how long? It's been a few years since you've been pastoring the church. Am I correct?
I went into full-time ministry in January of 2011. I known from the time I was a child that I was called into ministry. I just didn't answer. And so where most people may get their ministry upbringing through seminary or through Bible college, I got mine through the music business. That was my upbringing in ministry that I had to learn the hard way through the music biz. But it wasn't until I started heading into my early 40s that I completely surrendered my life to Jesus and determined I'm not going to try and do everything the old way, that I want to try in God's way.
We're going to get ready to let you go. I know that you got to get prepared to get ready to do your thing once again at halftime right here at State Farm Arena with the Atlanta Hawks, as the Atlanta Hawks are taking on the Sacramento Kings. Before I let you go, what are your thoughts on the Hawks and just the entire sports culture here in Atlanta? The sports culture is growing with the younger Hawks team, the new arena. We see what the Atlanta Falcons are doing. The Braves had a quick success this year. They have a new stadium as well, SunTrust Park, and we see the soccer movement has become huge here with Atlanta United. united. So right now, if you're a sports fan in Atlanta, you have a lot to choose from, a lot of entertainment. What are your thoughts on the Hawks and just the sports culture here in Atlanta?
I think Atlanta has got a lot to be excited about. I mean, you got the Mercedes-Benz Arena, you got State Farm, you got a lot of new places and venues for a fan in Atlanta to really embrace and be a part of any community, athletic community that anybody would want to be a part of. It's hard to be a Falcons fan. I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's hard if you're a Falcons fan, you know I'm telling the truth. It's hard for you to be a Falcons fan, but outside of even the stadium that they have the ability to play in, there's just this thing of where the culture in Atlanta, the new arena, the new stadium, to have the Trae Youngs and the talent that's coming here to Atlanta. I think it's a great place for people to be a fan. And there's a lot of stuff I think that's happening in Atlanta right now that's going to make it even a bigger place to be a fan of, politically, all types of things. Atlanta will be hot Atlanta again.
Are you a Falcons fan or are you rocking with the Rams?
I am not a Falcons fan. I am not a Rams fan. If I say the fan of the team I am, this whole interview might end up just being destroyed.
What is it?
I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Yeah. But look. Okay, I understand. But my story is when I grew up in Los Angeles, California. At the time I grew up, I didn't really have close relationship, with my dad. But the times that I did feel close with my dad was when we would watch Monday Night Football. And because of my age, Monday Night Football at that time when I was a kid, it was America's team. Dallas Cowboys versus the Eagles. Dallas Cowboys 49ers. Dallas Cowboys Steelers. And so I grew up equating time spent with my dad with the Dallas Cowboys. So even though I moved to Atlanta, tried to be a Falcons fan, but I would sit up and then when the Dallas Cowboys came on, it would just pull my heartstrings. And so we ain't had championships in decades, but still I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and I'm gonna ride that one out to the sunset.
Were you happy with the Amari Cooper move? With Amari Cooper being
I was not happy with the Dez Bryant move, but I understand, as an organization, there are things that happen that we don't see. And so I do think Amari Cooper is a great asset if you're trying to get a big three. Amari can be that guy if Dez can get him Dak. I'm sorry. If Dak can get him the ball, I think it's a great move.
Terrell Thomas, once again, we're live downtown Atlanta, the one and only State Farm Arena. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, get down here, check out some great action. You never know who you may catch in the arena. Montell Jordan will be doing his thing at halftime. We'll have that performance as well, and we'll be bringing you a lot more from this gentleman, so stay tuned.